Uh, well, coming off, two good wins on the road against New Mexico. That was made it interesting in the last game, to say the least. But luckily, we found a way to close it off, and hopefully can carry some of that momentum into the homestand against San Jose State, which, watching their games against UNLV, I mean, they're kind of like New Mexico, where you can't sit there and you look at the record, then you're gonna be in big trouble, because they're a team that's really dangerous in the fact that they can really shoot the ball, and they like to shoot a lot of threes, similar to us in a lot of ways. And so we're gonna have to do a really good job of trying to minimize 3-point attempts. Richard Washington's a guy that I believe is leading the Mountain West in scoring, a guy that if you don't guard him right can go out and get 30. And so it's going to be a game about our habits, and which a lot like New Mexico, where you're just going to have to can't beat yourself, and you got to find a way to get a really good shot every time down the floor. And I think that was, maybe a little bit of the issue in the second game against New Mexico with the press, is that, when you haven't really been pressed like that before, and, what people probably don't realize, that when you're not there in person, the length and the size and the athleticism that New Mexico has. And so when basically they're playing, when they're down 25 and now they're just playing, they got nothing to lose. Now they become really dangerous, and becomes even more crazy and helter-skelter. And it's a fine line between, not getting on your heels, but also too knowing that, you got to still fight to get really good shots. And, we had that stretch there where Drake missed 2 or 3 threes in a row that were good looks for him, missed a couple layups. And now they go down, make a few shots, and lo and behold, you're in a ball game, which every night on college and TV, you see teams that, 20-point leads in college basketball disappear in a hurry anymore. So I think it was a good learning experience, and something hopefully will carry over into the San Jose State series, which, once again, it's just about the experience, and our guys, the more games we can play, the better. The news that, we're going to have to go to Utah State and UNLV coming to here, it's great for us, because, the more games that our guys can play, the better off that we're going to be in the long run. So we welcome those games, but got to take care of business first here against San Jose State.
Coach Chris Sylvester, I'll be doing the game on the Mountain West Network on Thursday. Looking forward to watching you guys. I've had a chance to do a few San Jose State games this year. When you look at what they've done in conference play, it's kind of tough to figure them out, because they've been on the wrong end of some lopsided scores, but they reeled off 3 straight wins. They played Boise really tough. They almost beat UNLV at home this past weekend. What type of approach are you guys expecting from San Jose State? It's almost as if sometimes they played better without Rich Washington.
Well, I mean, it's, they're similar to New Mexico, where they haven't had it as hard as New Mexico has in terms of just everything that's gone into trying to play games this season. But their season hasn't been any easier, having to go down to Phoenix and play. Now finally they're back at home, which, when you're in Santa Clara County right now in that neck of the woods, I mean, it's definitely not normal by any stretch of the imagination. So Coach Prelo is somebody that I've known for a very long time. And he's a guy that, as you watch their teams, I mean, they're playing hard. I mean, just like in the case of New Mexico, I mean, both those teams had a lot of reasons to pack it in a long time ago. And some of their players did, but the players that are there, they probably know that those guys are there for the right reasons and they want to play. And you can see that. I mean, they're playing hard. They got nothing to lose. And sometimes teams like that are the most dangerous teams. And when you have the ability to shoot the ball like they do, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, look at San Diego State. I mean, it was pretty much a tie game with about 12 minutes left in the second half at San Diego State. And so they'll have our full attention. And it's just, I'm not sure who's going to play and whatnot for them. But I know AG got hurt at the end of the first game against UNLV. And he's a guy that can definitely go get a basket down low. But, when you watch him, in the case of Washington, I mean, he's just a guy that, from a talent standpoint, I mean, you can't replace him. And Whether they play better with him or not, I'm not sure about that. I just know he's a guy that he can go get a basket at any level of college basketball. So when you have a guy like that, and in our case too, I mean, with Malawach went and got 30. I mean, he's as talented, or if not more talented than Malawach is from an offensive standpoint. So, he provides a lot of challenges for us. Maldo's going to have to do a really good job on him, but it's going to be more of a team effort. Cody.
Jeff, I believe it was after the Boise State game, Xavier Dussel just kind of said, you know what, I'm not happy just coming in, for a few minutes and not being aggressive and, what the hell, let's go for it. Can you talk about his growth a little bit this year from the time he walked on campus to where his game is right now?
Well, considering he had to spend 52 days in quarantine the first semester and never had COVID, I mean, it was going to take him a little bit longer maybe than some of the other guys of getting in shape and getting, ready to go. And so, but he's a guy that, he's a really, really bright kid. He's a really smart player. And so he's one of those guys that, you tell him something once and he knows what's going on. And usually he's not going to make the same mistake twice. And he's come a long ways, which, when you saw him back in October, you saw him coming off these pauses. You're like, man, I'm not sure if he can be able to guard anybody at this level. And then lo and behold, he's been one of our best defenders. I mean, he's a guy that just understands angles. I mean, just as he's got such a good feel for the game, which allows the game to come easy for him. But as all freshmen, I mean, he's gonna, he has got to get stronger, which he knows. In his body, he's going to be able to carry weight. He's just a guy that, over the course of time is only going to get better and better with more games. And so he's provided a big spark for us. I like him to be more aggressive offensively. I mean, he's just not, which I thought he did a really good job of in the second half in New Mexico in the first game. At halftime, I let him know that, hey, man, you got to play off the shot fake, and you got to be more than just a catch and shoot guy. And he was a guy that was able to get to the rim there in the second half and put a lot of pressure on New Mexico because he has that ability in him. And sometimes he shoots it so well that you can get caught into just living behind the 3-point line when we need another guy like him that has the ability to get by his guy and either get an easy basket or create an easy basket for somebody.
Jeff, speaking of the second half, sorry to jump in, guys, but speaking of the second half, what is it like to be, you're ejected from the game? Do you sit in the locker room and watch the game, or what is Jeff Linder doing during that time?
Well, luckily and I forgot what his name, but the guy, the equipment manager at Air Force, I mean, he was very gracious. He allowed me to come into the equipment room, and he had a TV set up, and then he had the live stats, which there was a little bit of a delay, which at the end, when there was 23 seconds on the clock, I actually made my way out in a hockey arena. There was actually the big screen. There was the game going on, and that was actually a live feed. And so there wasn't a delay. And so I spent watching the last 23 seconds and the 5 minutes of overtime just sitting in the hockey arena, which is right next door to the basketball arena. Cats.
In a similar vein to Cody's question about Dussel, we've talked about Quan's growth this year, and if for him, has it been a physical change or a mental change? I feel like it kind of sounds like it's been kind of a mental progression for him over the last few months.
Well, I mean, I think it's both. I think, for him is, being in shape. And I told him the other day, I brought him in, we watched film on Monday, and I said, you can't be the guy that gets in shape in mid-January or early February every year, which it's been 2 years in a row. And now, in fairness to him, he came in as a freshman, with the stress fracture in his foot. And so he wasn't able to do much in the summertime. This summer, he had some issues with his wrist. And then with the pauses, that doesn't help our cause. I mean, our team as a whole is not as, in elite shape like we would normally be in if it was all things equal and everything was the same. But I think for him, it's just a matter of, the maturity along with all our guys in terms of how hard they have to go every day in order to allow you to win games and in order to play at the University of Wyoming. I mean, practices are where that's where we win games. And, you can't be a guy that, shows up to practice one day, then the next day you decide, hey, no, I mean, you better be ready to compete every possession in practice. And if you don't, you know, you're going to get exposed and you're not going to play. And sometimes guys, you know, it's until they see it, until they feel, they don't realize that that's where winning lies. And as a coaching staff, that's what we have to remind them. And this year's been different because we haven't had enough guys, but, you know, come June when we'll have 15 or 16 guys, you know, you better be ready on June 3rd to compete every possession. Because if not, one, you're not going to be able to win at this level, and two, you're not going to play. And so I think in general, not just Quan, but all those guys, and especially the freshmen, how hard you have to work every day in order to give yourself a chance to win at this level. Because you go play against San Diego State, I mean, you see that they are not, I mean, how few mistakes they're making on the defensive end of the floor. And just the good teams in general, Utah State, you know, they don't make very few mistakes. And that's where winning lies, is over the course of 140 possessions in the game on both ends of the floor. Like, how few mistakes are you going to make collectively as a team? And until we have, you know, that number goes up, until where we go from a team that can play solid defensively for, you know, whatever that might be, 25 to 30% to 40% of the possessions. I mean, in order to win in this league, you better be at 80 or better. And so that's the battle we fight with everybody, not just Quan, but as he's gotten in better shape. And as I walked down to practice today, I mean, he looks like he's in shape now. And you can see that by just the way he's moving. And he's never going to be a guy that's a jet that's just going to break guys off, but he's a guy where, you know, he can create some momentum and get his shoulder by you. Now he can use his size to create a lot of problems. Tracy.
When you talk about the young team, in some ways, do you think a few of those blowouts that you suffered might have been a good wake-up call for young guys to realize that, hey, it really is a lot different at this level. I'm not just going to be able to go out like I did in high school and be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go through too many of them, but yeah, until you face a team like San Diego State, who's 22nd in the country right now, and you know, talking to Leon at Boise, I'm like, I would be hard pressed to find 5 better teams in the country defensively. And I've played against a lot of really good teams in my time as a Division I assistant coach and a head coach. You know, teams that have made it to the Final Four. Teams that have won their leagues in Power 5 leagues. And I'm not sure if I've experienced or felt a team like San Diego State in terms of how connected and how good they were defensively. And so for our guys to see that and feel it, it's good. But at the same time, it's a moot point if you don't start changing your habits. But I do think, you know, being that how young I think our guys have learned and they've gotten better defensively. It's still not anywhere close to where it needs to be. But we're getting there. We're getting closer slowly but surely. And as the time comes when we're able to get in the gym more, we're able to go 5-on-5 to where now you're really competing, not just surviving, you know, like today, you know, waiting to how many guys you're gonna have at practice, 9 guys. And, you know, Drake has a, you know, infection on his right hand from stitches that he had 10 days ago that's causing problems. And so he wasn't able to practice today. It's just one of those years that you got to survive. But in the meantime, you got to find a way to just get a little bit better each day. And I think our guys are doing that. Cody.
Jeff, as far as getting the UNLV game and getting the Utah State game, do you have any say in that? Did you advocate the Mountain West and say we really want these games, or do the coaches have any pull in that whatsoever?
That's above my pay grade. No say in that. And so it's that comes down to the ADs, the presidents, and TV. And
well, and it's like with you guys, it's so important because you haven't been able to go 5-on-5 in practice. That's why I wondered that, you know, you need those games because you guys are learning during the games.
Yeah, no, I mean, and for us, I mean, where maybe some teams, they don't want those games because, you know, there's a lot of consequences and repercussions if some teams lose those games. But also too, I mean, if you're good enough, if you're a legit NCAA tourney team, you know, you shouldn't be scared to go play anywhere. But I also get it too, where some of those teams right now are like, well, why are we playing these games? Because you also, you put people in jeopardy and risk when you have to travel. And now you're getting so close to the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament where if you go on a pause, I mean, that's bad news. But for us in the situation we're in, luckily it's not too terribly difficult to get to Logan, Utah. And then we get to play a game at home. And so I'm not worried about, COVID or anything like that. It's just for us to have the opportunity to play a team like Utah State, who's really good, and UNLV. I mean, shoot, they're each game they're playing better and better, and they're a team that can beat anybody in the league. I mean, as we've seen at Boise State, they beat Utah State, and so a team that's similar to us, where they rely a lot on their perimeter guys. I mean, that's going to be a good test for us. But the more games we can play, the better. Cats.
We didn't get a chance to ask you after the last game, but did you? What was the official explanation for your ejection? We kind of we didn't really get a good feel for it on the broadcast. They didn't really know what was going on.
I don't know if you ever get I don't think you ever get an official word, but for me, hey, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's what happened. There is no. They don't have to give them an explanation, and it's something that I won't make a. I mean, I've gotten very few technicals over the course of my career as a head coach, and don't plan on trying to get ejected from another game. That's not good for anybody. Sean.
Coach, I just wanted to ask, what is your team's mindset going down the stretch here? Obviously, before the conference tournament, it's pretty much, aside from the 5 teams that you lamented that have a pretty strong defense, but where do you see your team's mindset stacking up heading into the conference tournament? And I know you don't want to look ahead, but if you could just kind of detail that for me really quick.
Well, I think the biggest thing is if we can I think with each day and each game, we continue to get better. And so, I think we're a team with our ability to make shots and how we play offensively. I think we're a dangerous matchup for anybody. I think we're a team that, some of those upper half teams, they kind of want to stay away from just because of our ability to go score. Now they might not be too afraid of our defense, but from an offensive standpoint and on a neutral court, I think we can be a tough out. And so, what we just got to continue to do, or right now in college basketball, every day teams, and especially now during COVID, every day about 10 teams probably across NCAA Division I basketball, and there's probably 341 this year, I think there is, with the leagues that are out and teams that are not playing, that 10 or 15 teams decide, it's too hard, let's tap out. And so, with our guys, they still enjoy coming to practice. They still want to get better, and that's all we can do is just try to continue to find a way to get better. And saying you never know, and that's with our team, with our youth. They're just, they don't know what they're getting themselves into, and sometimes that's a good thing, because then you're not playing scared. You go to the conference tournament and you got nothing to lose, and that becomes a dangerous team to play. Tracy. So
you were the offensive coach when you were at Boise State.
Yep.
But you talk a lot about defense. Have you always been a guy that put a stress in defense when you've had to say the thing, or is that something as an offensive coach you saw more and more of and realized the importance?
Well, no, Boise, I was like the offensive coordinator and have a reputation of being really good offensively. But if you look at our teams at UNC, defensively, we were elite in numerous categories. And that's probably more of my mindset. In order to win, you better be, especially a team like us that relies on shooting a lot of threes. And you're going to have nights where, you're not going to make, you're going to miss some shots. And so now you got to rely on your defense. And so, if you really came and watched a practice over the course of my 4 years at UNC, you would see, it's probably more along the lines of 70% defense in practice and 30% offense. Because knowing that, you can't beat teams at this level when, you're allowing teams to shoot 50%. And so there's certain things that, we really try to emphasize. Last year at UNC, we were number 1 in the country. We were the only team in Division I basketball last year that allowed less than 200 points in transition. We were the best transition defensive team in the country. We were the best team in the country in terms of minimizing 3-point field goal attempts and 3-point field goals made per game. We were number 1 in the country and not letting you assist on made baskets. We were 20th in the country and not letting you get to the foul line. We were 25th in the country and not letting you rebound, defensive rebounding percentage. And so, but those were habits that were built over time. That wasn't year one. And I go back and I asked, Jordan Davis, who's playing the top league in Spain right now, and Jonah Radabov is playing for the top team in Germany, because they were with me in year one. I went back and asked them a week ago, what was it really like? Because sometimes you forget. And they just said, the thing was that you never lowered the standard. And that's the thing that myself and my coaching staff right now is that we're not going to lower the standard, which these guys know. I mean, and it's hard when you have young guys and you're competing in such a good league. I mean, it's a team that's going to have multi-bid league. And when you have young guys, man, you're going to get exposed, but you just got to know, and I knew this coming into this, deal, that it was going to take some time. I mean, nobody wants you to take time. They all want the quick fix, but if you're going to build it right at the University of Wyoming, there is no quick fix. And it's just, that's the reality of it. You're not getting the transfers that San Diego State are going to get. You're not going to get the transfers that UNLV is going to get. Boise, it took 10 years for Leon to get those type of guys to transfer to Boise State. I mean, when I was at Boise, it was impossible for us to get transfers at that level, because it just usually when guys transfer, they usually want to go back closer to home or to certain places, and that wasn't a destination. Now it is, because they've won, but that was 9 years. That was 9-10 years in the making. And so for us right now, I mean, we just got to, we got to be able to just know that, and which is hard. It's hard for me. It's probably even harder for my wife. To know that it's, you just got to build it one day at a time. She sees me coming home at night pulling my hair out, but she also the one that says, hey, listen, it's not going to be a quick fix. And I knew that coming in, but I also know too that if you build it the right way here, you can have a lot of success.
Well, as a disciple of Haskins, I enjoy watching